Family helps family. Yeah, I've heard that one before. Usually right before someone dumps their mess on your doorstep and expects you to smile about it. A year ago, my life was quiet, predictable, peaceful. I'd finally paid off my walk-up apartment in Chicago, 3 small bedrooms, creaky floors, walls thin enough to hear the neighbor's dog sneeze, but it was mine. 10 years of double shifts as an ICU nurse, sleeping weird hours, eating ramen out of Tupperware, saying no to beach trips and weddings so I could stack one more mortgage payment. No husband, no kids, no roommates, just peace. A good book, overpriced candles, and quiet. Then came Caleb. My cousin, my childhood best friend, my partner in dumb crime back when we used to skateboard off the garage roof and blame it on the wind. We were tight, until we weren't. He married Ivy Miss Instagram spirituality herself, and they went full-on digital nomad dreamers. You know the type. Startups, minimalist travel blogs, life is too short to work for someone else vibes. I laughed when I saw their post announcing they sold their LA condo. We're going all in on Wanderways, Caleb wrote. Their VR travel startup. I mean, cool. If you're 22 and don't have 2 kids. But they were serious. Emma's 6, Jackson's 4. And somehow they thought it was a genius move to dump everything and use the profits to float for a year while building the app. My group chat lit up with Caleb's reel of them sipping mango smoothies in Bali with the caption, "Escaping the Matrix." Yeah, okay, Neo, good luck with that. 6 months ago, they stopped posting. No more palm trees, no more hashtags, just radio silence, until last week. I'd just come off a 12-hour overnight, got home at 7 a.m., collapsed on my couch, still wearing my scrubs, and my phone buzzed. Hey, cuz, can we talk? Something about the tone already felt off. No, yo, check this out. No joke, just tense. So I called, and that's when the bomb dropped. Turns out they'd burned through everything condo profits savings credit. They overestimated the booming market, underestimated literally every adult expense. They'd hopped around Airbnbs in Thailand, Morocco, Costa Rica, and forgot kids aren't backpackers. Now they were back in the States, broke, no home, no plan. And guess what? We were wondering, could we crash at your place for a bit? I didn't answer right away. Honestly, I was stunned. I hadn't seen Caleb in 2 years. Ivy never liked me, not really, and now they want to roll up with 2 kids into my apartment. You know, it's just me here, right? I said finally. Exactly, he said, laughing like it was obvious. You've got all this space. UTF. I sat up. My head was pounding, my coffee was cold. And this dude who hasn't even asked how I'm doing wants to move his entire family into my tiny home like it's no big deal. I mean, just for 10 months, he added. Until Wanderways relaunches. We've got big updates coming. Ivy chimed in on speaker. It'd really mean a lot. The kids just need some stability for a while. We won't be a burden, promise. A pause. Then Caleb softer. You always said we were family first, right? That phrase hit like a slap. Because yeah, I used to believe that. But back then I also believed in Santa and that love could fix people. I told them I'd think about it. I didn't mean it. The next day they showed up, uninvited, with a U-Haul. I nearly spit out my protein shake when I saw them dragging luggage up my front steps. Ivy was in leggings and Gucci slides. Caleb looked like he hadn't slept in days. The kids were cranky, already screaming for snacks. No warning, no heads up. They just came. I opened the door in disbelief. Surprise, Caleb said sheepishly. We figured we'd just settle in and talk. Screw that. Come in, I said quietly, but my chest was burning. They walked in like it was a done deal, like they'd already decided it was happening. Look, I said, this isn't gonna work. I kept it calm but firm. I explained that I loved them, but I worked nights, the space was small, and I needed my home to be my peace. I offered to help financially, I reminded them. I'll still do that, but I can't host a whole family for almost a year. Ivy's smile dropped. She looked at Caleb, then back at me. You're serious. Dead serious, I said. And just like that, her whole vibe shifted, from sweet to pissed in 2 seconds flat. You've always had a problem with us, she snapped. You think because you've got a paycheck and no kids you're better than us? Caleb didn't say anything, just stared at the floor, holding his son's hand. I hated how guilty I felt, but I stood my ground. You made a choice, I said. This is the consequence. I didn't work my ass off to become your safety net. They left without another word. I watched the U-Haul roll away, still in disbelief. But I knew this wasn't over. 2 days later, my mom called. That alone should have been a red flag. Usually she texts, "You eating?" or "Don't forget your cousin's birthday." But this time, full-on voice call. I let it ring once, twice, picked it up because I already knew where this was going. "Hi, honey," she said way too gently. I could already hear the guilt trip winding up. "So, Caleb called us," she said. Of course he did. He said you turned them away, that they're really struggling and you just slammed the door in their faces. I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, but because, wow, that's what we're doing now, rewriting history in 48 hours. No, Mom. They showed up with a F******ing moving truck. I told them no before they even stepped through the door. I offered money, help finding a rental, but letting them live here, that's a no. I could hear her sigh like she was disappointed in a kid who got a B on a spelling test. Well, they're family, Marissa. Family helps family, especially in hard times. Yeah, except I've been through hard times too. And nobody came rushing to bail me out when I was skipping meals to afford my nursing license fees. Nobody offered me a free stay when I was living in a one-bedroom studio above a laundromat with no AC and roaches that could vote. You don't know what they're dealing with, she added. No, I said, because they don't talk to me unless they want something. Silence. I could feel her recalibrating, looking for her next angle. You're doing well now, sweetie. You've got a stable job, a nice home, no kids to worry about. God, there it was. That unspoken, you have no real obligation, so give up what you have. Tone that always crawls under my skin. I have a life, Mom, I said flatly. Just because I'm single doesn't mean I don't deserve space and peace. She didn't respond. I think she wanted to say something about sacrifices, about being the bigger person. But I was already done. I gotta go, I muttered. I've got a shift in 2 hours. 3 hours later, my phone lit up again. This time, my aunt, Caleb's mom. Text only, but brutal. You've changed. It's sad. I remember when you were the kind one in the family. Wow. Then came the posts. On Facebook. Not direct, passive-aggressive. The worst kind. Ivy posted a picture of their kids sitting on luggage in front of what looked like a train station. The caption, "When you've got nowhere to go, and the people you thought would be there aren't." The comment section lit up like a bonfire. Distant cousins chiming in, people I hadn't spoken to since high school saying things like, "So heartbreaking," and "How could anyone turn away children?" No names, but come on. Everyone knew who the villain was supposed to be. I wanted to ignore it. I really did. But then one of the replies said, she always thought she was better than the rest of the family since she bought that apartment. Yeah, okay, gloves off. I didn't comment. I didn't clap back in the comments like some soap opera extra. I just posted a status of my own. Being single doesn't mean your home is public property. Being quiet doesn't mean you'll be silent forever. Simple, but enough. It got a couple likes, a few DMs, one from my cousin Ben. Want me to go off on Caleb for you because I will. Bless Ben. He's the only one in the family who doesn't run on emotional blackmail. That night, Caleb texted. First, it was civil. I didn't mean for things to blow up. I just thought you'd understand. We're in a tough spot. Then it turned bitter. You've got 3 bedrooms and live alone, and you can't even help us out. And finally, it went full Caleb. If the roles were reversed, I would have said yes. I stared at the message for a while, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I didn't reply, I just blocked him. Screw the guilt. I'd spent too many years playing nice with people who saw me as an option but expected to be my priority. The next morning I got an email. From Caleb. Because of course. Subject line, important family matter. I rolled my eyes so hard I saw colors. He wasn't asking this time. He was demanding. Said he'd spoken to a friend who's a lawyer. Said because we both inherited a share of our grandparents' estate, which, by the way, was settled over a decade ago, he technically had claim to temporary residence if I wasn't utilizing the space fully. What the actual F asterisk asterisk asterisk? This man was about to pull some off-brand legal stunt to bully his way into my house. Nah. You want legal, fine. Let's talk legal. I pulled out the file cabinet under my desk, grabbed the folder labeled Caleb L. Property, and smiled. Because here's the thing he forgot. When he sold that LA condo, the buyer defaulted on their mortgage 6 months later. And guess who bought it from the bank as an investment rental? Yup, me. I've been renting it out ever since, quietly, through a trust. It's legally under a management LLC, but I've owned his old dream condo for 2 years, with his own furniture still in it. So I sent him a reply. Just a photo of the deed. And one sentence. Next time you try to squat, check who owns the floor you're standing on. No emoji, no salutation, just straight up emotional annihilation. He didn't respond. Not right away. But later that night, he unblocked me just to send a voice memo that was mostly heavy breathing a curse or two and him muttering, "You really think you're better than us?" Yeah, maybe I do. Because I plan. I don't gamble with my kids' future. Oh wait, I don't have kids, so I don't weaponize them for pity either. By the end of the week, the narrative was shifting. People were starting to connect dots. Someone had told Ivy that I owned the condo, that I'd basically made money off their tech freedom dream. The next time she posted it was a quote meme about betrayal and wolves in sheep's clothing. Please, I didn't betray anyone. I just stopped sacrificing my peace for people who treat boundaries like suggestions. My mom texted again last night. You know, I don't agree with everything Caleb did, but maybe you could have more grace. No. No more grace for people who weaponize blood ties to bulldoze your life. I didn't answer. Instead, I lit a candle, poured a glass of wine, and watched The Bear on Hulu in silence. Alone. In my clean, peaceful, drama-free apartment. And you know what? It was glorious. 3 weeks passed. I thought the dust would settle. You know, people get bored. A new drama pops up, someone else becomes the family punching bag, and I get to go back to being the eccentric but stable cousin no one bothers. But no. This wasn't just a bump. This turned into a full-on family Cold War. Every group chat I was in dead, muted, silent. My name became Voldemort. Nobody said it, but everyone had something to say behind my back. And then came the guilt missiles. First, my uncle, the one who hasn't visited me in 5 years. He called while I was meal prepping, acting like he just happened to check in. 5 minutes in, he drops this. You know, Marissa, we all hit rough patches. Maybe you could be less, I don't know, hard. Hard. I dropped my knife on the cutting board. You think I'm hard because I didn't roll over and let 4 people move into my 900 square feet like it's a Red Cross shelter. He chuckled like I was being dramatic. It's just for a while. You're not gonna die from a little noise and company. I work trauma nights, Uncle Rick, I snapped. I literally might if I don't sleep. He mumbled something about young people being selfish these days and hung up. Cool, add that to the list. Then came the message from Emma. Not Ivy. Not Caleb. Emma, their 6-year-old daughter, from Caleb's phone. A voice memo. Hi, Auntie Marissa. Daddy says we don't have a home, but he said you do. So, can we come stay with you? I'll be quiet, I promise. I froze. My hands went cold. My heart did this weird twitch thing. I played it twice hoping I'd heard wrong. But no, they really used their child as a guilt trip grenade. That was it. That was my line. I wasn't just the villain in Caleb's story anymore, I was the final boss, the last person left to blame. And they were pulling out every emotional weapon they had. So I sent one text. To Caleb. Don't ever use your kids like that again. Not for this. Not for anything. I'm blocking you for good this time. Be an adult. Figure it out. And then I deleted his contact. For real this time. A few nights later, I was finishing up a shift when one of the residents in the ER nudged me. Hey, your sister or something's outside. She said it's an emergency. I blinked. What, I don't have a sister? He pointed toward the automatic doors. And there they were. Caleb, Ivy, the kids, standing under the flickering hospital lights like a scene out of a Hallmark apocalypse. They looked awful, tired, unshowered, desperate. I walked outside. Cold air hit my skin like ice. Caleb stepped forward. Ivy held Jackson on her hip. Emma was half asleep. "We don't have anywhere else to go," he said, voice low. "You were right. IF asterisk 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 it up." I didn't say anything. He kept going. "We applied for housing programs, wait lists, everything. No one calls back. I've tried getting a job, but..." Because the world didn't need a VR travel guru during an inflation spike, I said, arms crossed. His face fell. "I'm not asking for a year anymore," he whispered. "Just a week. Just a place to crash while we figure out next steps." My jaw clenched. I looked down at Emma's shoes. Pink, muddy, 2 sizes too small. And for a second, I wanted to say yes. Not for him. For the kids. But then I remembered the voice memo. The fake legal threats, the Facebook sob posts, the uncles, the texts, the silence from everyone else. I remembered how they made me feel like the problem just for having boundaries. So I shook my head. "I offered you help before. Money, referrals, I still will. But my home, no, that door's closed." "But the kids," Ivy started. "Are not pawns," I cut her off. "You should have thought about that before dragging them through 4 countries with no plan." Emma started crying. Jackson buried his face into her shirt. Caleb looked like he was about to crumble. And maybe part of me did too. But I didn't cave. I gave him the card for the hospital's social services coordinator, told him they might help with temp housing or food banks. Then I turned around and walked back inside. Didn't look back. Didn't check if they followed. Didn't cry. Not then. 2 days later, I found out where they ended up. A mutual friend sent me a DM, said Caleb and Ivy had moved in with some guy they knew from a hostel in Thailand. A dude named Marco who runs a podcast about healing through mushrooms or something equally unregulated. Apparently, he had a basement. No windows, but heat and Wi-Fi. That's where they were now. Not ideal, but not my problem. That weekend, Ivy posted again. A reel this time. She's sitting cross-legged in a dim room, candles in the background, holding a mug like it's a relic. "Sometimes the people closest to us aren't safe," she says to the camera. "And sometimes the universe removes us from their life for a reason." I didn't watch the rest. Didn't need to. Her audience wasn't me. It was the 200 followers who comment heart emojis and say things like, "So proud of your light." But then, something weird happened. The comment section turned. A few people started asking real questions. "Didn't y'all sell your house to travel? Wait, didn't Marissa offer money? This sounds kind of manipulative." And Ivy, she turned the comments off. Guess the universe wasn't vibing that day. The next message I got. From my dad. The man who said I was cold for not helping, who told me I was too independent for my own good. He sent a picture. It was Caleb, sitting outside a bus station, alone, staring into his phone like it held all the answers he never bothered to ask. Caption. "He looks broken. I hope you're happy." And for the first time in weeks, I replied, "I'm not happy. I'm just not his lifeline anymore." He left me on read. Classic. I won't lie, it hasn't been easy. I think about Emma's voice message more than I want to admit. I hate that they dragged her into this. I hate that she's going to remember all this mess someday and maybe think I didn't care. But I do. That's the worst part. I care. I just can't keep bleeding for people who treat my veins like open taps. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. I offered help, I offered solutions, I drew a line, and they tried to erase it. So I carved it in stone. And now I sleep. Alone, in a warm bed, in a quiet house. No crying kids, no guilt storms, no random U-Hauls showing up at my door. Just stillness. And yeah, maybe that makes me the villain in someone's story. But at least I'm not a cautionary tale in my own. A month passed. It was almost eerie how quiet everything got after the last blow-up. No more late-night texts, no new drama posts, no secondhand guilt messages. Like the entire circus just folded its tent and went home. Except, of course, they didn't have a home. But I wasn't the ringmaster anymore, and I wasn't about to go chasing their mess with a mop. Still, I'd be lying if I said it didn't sit in the back of my mind. Little flashes, Emma's tiny voice in that voice memo, the look in Caleb's eyes outside the ER, the way my dad tried to weaponize guilt like it was some kind of currency. I wanted to shake it off. I really did. But when people you love turn your boundaries into betrayal, that kind of thing doesn't just leave. It lingers. Like smoke in your clothes after a fire you didn't start. Last Sunday, I ran into Aunt May at the grocery store. Caleb's mom. We hadn't talked since the whole Facebook fiasco. I was hoping she'd pretend not to see me. Of course she didn't. She wheeled her cart straight up to me like we were long-lost besties. "Marissa," she said with that fake smile tone that made me want to break a cereal box in half. "We haven't seen you around in a while." "No shit, Aunt May. I've been a little busy avoiding becoming the family scapegoat / Airbnb." I gave her a nod. "Hey." She stepped closer, dropping the act instantly. "You really hurt your cousin, you know. He's not doing well." I let out a slow breath, counted to 3 in my head. "I know," I said, and I still offered help, just not in the way he wanted. She scoffed. "Is that what you call sending him a photo of a deed like it was some kind of threat?" "No," I said, turning to face her fully. "It was a reminder that choices have consequences, that maybe before you show up to someone's door demanding space, you should remember whose name is on what." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I'd finally stopped playing the quiet, agreeable cousin who swallowed every insult and shrugged off every slight. And honestly, good. She walked off without another word. I didn't watch her leave. Later that week, something unexpected happened. Ben called. My other cousin. The one who sent that "want me to go off on him" text a while back. We'd always been close-ish, but family events had made us cautious around each other. You know the vibe, friendly but surface level. Like everyone's watching to see which side you fall on. This time, he called out of the blue. "Hey, you got a second?" I was in my car just leaving work. "Yeah, what's up?" I just wanted to say, I get it now. I should have reached out sooner. My grip on the steering wheel loosened a little. "What do you mean?" He sighed. "Caleb's staying with a friend of mine. Not voluntarily. They got kicked out of Marco's place. Something about unpaid groceries and Ivy trying to sell emotional alignment sessions to his girlfriend." I almost choked. Of course she did. Ben laughed, then went quiet. "They're burning every bridge they step on," he said. I tried helping. I offered to connect him with an old roommate who hires for a warehouse gig. He turned it down, said it wasn't aligned with his purpose. "Jesus," I muttered. "Yeah, so I just wanted you to know I'm not buying their bullshit anymore. You did more than most people would have. Hell, you did more than I would have." That meant more than I expected. Not because I needed validation, but because I needed someone to see what this really was. Not a feud, not a personality clash. Just the result of someone mistaking kindness for weakness one too many times. A few days later, I got an email. From a Gmail address I didn't recognize. The subject line just said, "I'm sorry." I almost deleted it. But something told me to open it. It was from Ivy. And it wasn't her usual influencer word salad. No crystals, no moon phases, no vague growth journey jargon. Just real. "I don't expect you to forgive us. I wouldn't if I were you. We messed up. Bad. Caleb's pride wouldn't let him see it, and I was too wrapped up in making our life look brave and beautiful to admit it was a mess. The kids are tired, so am I. I don't want anything, just needed to say it out loud. You were right. About all of it. Ivy." I stared at the screen for a long time. Didn't respond. Didn't forward it. Didn't screenshot it. Didn't frame it as a trophy. But I also didn't hate her anymore. Which honestly felt like its own kind of win. The next family dinner came around. It was for Grandma's 90th, so skipping wasn't really an option. She's the only one who never got involved in the drama, probably because she's too busy watching reruns of Jeopardy and asking everyone if they've eaten. I showed up late on purpose. The house was full every branch of the family tree, including the dead ends and rotting roots. I kept my head down, made a beeline for the wine table, and tried not to make eye contact with anyone who might drag me into a heartfelt talk. Of course, I saw them. Caleb and Ivy, sitting near the back. No kids. I wasn't going to ask. They didn't look good. Not in the dramatic pity post kind of way, but in the real kind of worn out. Like two people who finally realized the cost of pretending everything's fine. He caught my eye. I nodded. He nodded back. No smiles, no apology parade. Just a quiet truce across a room full of people who still thought this was all about one misunderstanding. Later, as I was leaving, I heard my name. It was Caleb. He walked up to me, slow hands in pockets, shoulders hunched like a kid waiting to be grounded. I meant what I said before he said, "You were right." I nodded. "I know." He looked away. I just didn't know how to fix it. "You don't," I said. "You live with it, and you stop doing it." He nodded. "We're moving in with Ivy's cousin in Denver next week. She found a gig at a wellness spa, and I'm figuring things out." "Good," I said. There was a pause. Then he asked, "We good?" I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no. I just looked at him, really looked at him, and said, "We're not enemies, but we're not what we used to be either, and that's okay." He looked like he didn't expect that, but he nodded and walked away. On the drive home, I felt calm. Not triumphant, not smug, just settled. Like the chapter had finally ended. Not with fireworks or a courtroom speech, but with something quieter, something real. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't justice. It was survival. Boundaries. Burned bridges. And the quiet, steady peace of knowing I never lit the match. 2 weeks after Grandma's birthday dinner, I got a text from my dad. Just, "You free to talk." And listen, I could have ignored it. I wanted to. I had 1,000 reasons not to open that can again. But something about it felt different. No lecture tone, no guilt bait, just a neutral request. So I said, "Call me after 6. At 6:04, he did. I picked up and braced for something sharp, but what I got was silence. A full 5 seconds of static before he said, "I didn't handle things right." I sat down. "You think?" "I know." Another pause. Then quieter. I let Caleb's story get in my head. I didn't even ask yours. I closed my eyes. This was the same man who told me I was being heartless, who once said, "You have space, use it." Now he sounded like he'd aged 10 years in a month. "Ivy emailed me," he said, "told me what happened, the real stuff." I didn't speak. I didn't know they showed up with a moving truck. I didn't know about the fake legal crap, the manipulation, all of it. They didn't exactly broadcast that, I said dryly. He chuckled, but it wasn't the smug kind. It was tired. "I was wrong," he said again. "And I owe you an apology. Not for siding with them, though I did, but for treating your boundaries like they were optional." I swallowed. That was the first time I'd ever heard my father say the word boundaries without air quotes or sarcasm. "Thanks," I said. "I needed to hear that." "You deserve to." Another pause. Then he added, "And I'm proud of you. You handled it better than I would have." That one hit different. That one cracked something in my chest I didn't know was still holding tension. Because this wasn't just about Caleb or Ivy. This was about every time I'd been told to be nice, don't cause trouble, just go with it growing up. Every family dinner where I bit my tongue so someone else wouldn't feel uncomfortable. And now, here was my dad finally seeing me not as difficult or dramatic, but as someone who protected herself. That call ended better than I expected. And it stayed with me for days. Around that time, something else happened. One of the nurses I work with, Nina, caught me in the break room. "You good?" she asked, eyeing me over her coffee. "Yeah, why?" "You've just been different lately. Like you finally stopped caring something." I smiled. "Yeah, that's about right." She nodded like she understood. "I've been there," she said. "My sister tried to move in with me once. Brought a dog, 2 kids, and zero rent. Said it was temporary. How long did she stay? 6 months, she groaned. Left her dog behind when she finally bailed. We both laughed, that weary kind of nurse laugh. That's part trauma response, part, please take me out of this timeline. Then she asked something I wasn't expecting. You ever think about moving, like real change? And I paused. Because I hadn't. Not seriously. But now that she said it. Yeah, I had. The next weekend, I went to an open house. Just to look. It was a small townhouse, more space than I needed, but damn if it didn't feel fresh. Like stepping into a version of my life I hadn't imagined yet. Clean kitchen, bigger windows, a small patch of garden out back. The real estate agent asked if I was looking to upgrade. I said, I'm just seeing what peace feels like somewhere new. And the words came out so naturally it surprised me. Later that night, I sat on my couch, my old couch, in my quiet apartment, and I realized something. This place had been a fortress, a sanctuary, a line drawn in concrete. But it had also become a symbol of survival, of resistance, of standing up for myself. And maybe that part of the story was finished now. Maybe it was time for the next chapter. I didn't decide right then and there. I'm not impulsive like some people in my family. But I started browsing listings more often, not because I had to leave, but because I could. Because I wasn't trapped. Because no one else's chaos defined my choices anymore. A few days later, I got an unexpected package. No return address. Inside, a little clay keychain shaped like a heart, and a folded note in messy kid handwriting. Thank you for not being mean. Love, Emma. No explanation. No context. But I knew. Somehow, through all the mess, she'd seen something. Or maybe Ivy passed along a story. Maybe Emma remembered the snacks I brought to a cookout years ago, or the way I played tag with her while Caleb and Ivy stared at their phones. I don't know. But it wrecked me. In the best way. I cried. Like full-body cried. The kind where you don't try to hold it in because no one's watching and nothing about it feels weak. I cried because it mattered. Because even if the adults had failed each other, something had still made it through. A thread, a bridge, a single kind act not erased by all the noise. I put the keychain on my purse. Still there. Still reminds me that doing the hard thing, saying no, holding the line, protecting your space, doesn't always make you the villain. Sometimes it just makes you the grown-up. Things kept moving. The world didn't stop because Caleb tanked his dream. Bills came. Patience came. Life didn't pause. But I was different now. I didn't jump when my phone buzzed. I didn't scan family events for exits. I stopped apologizing for my comfort zone like it was something shameful. Hell, I even started saying no to extra shifts. That's how free I felt. One night, I was on the phone with Ben, just catching up. He told me Caleb had gotten a part-time gig helping a friend with landscaping. He hates it, Ben said, but he shows up. That's something, I guess. Maybe rock bottom finally stopped being a trampoline, I said. Ben laughed. You're brutal. I'm honest. You always were. Just took us too long to appreciate it. That stuck with me. Because, yeah, sometimes people confuse honesty with cruelty. Boundaries with punishment. Silence with rejection. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is protect your damn peace. And let people figure out their own.